and hold it for them to press their thumb on, and I carry alcohol swabs. I don't use that press pad, I believe the one that you're speaking of, because I don't think that I personally, if someone presented it to me, I would not believe that someone's finger was clean before they used it every time prior to me. So that's why I go with the strips.
And that's a really, really good point that you bring up too. So when I use those thumb printers, I also hand them an alcohol wipe to wipe their thumb before they stick it in my thumb printer. So that way they're not leaving behind any COVID cooties. Anybody else? All righty. So we'll probably want to go ahead and move on to the micro topic that we have on schedule. And this is something Ronnie wants to talk about, and it has a lot to do with a primetime notary. And this one's going to be computer literacy. See, I can't say it, Ronnie.
So I wanted to bring this topic to Primetime because, you know, owning a signing agency, I work with a lot of notaries from all ages. And one of the things that I want to say is that, you know, I actually like my older notaries. I actually try not to hire notaries that are, you know, 18, 19, 20, 21. These are not the notaries that I trust the most when they go out to do a signing. We even up into the 30s, I have, you know, and I'm 40, I have problems with notaries with responsibility and all of those things. But there is a drawback when it comes to working with notaries of an older generation. I have to do a little bit more handholding, which I don't mind. Most companies do not want to do a lot of handholding these days because we want to automate things and they just expect people to get out and do the job. One of the things that I see with older generation notaries is, number one, not being able to log into the platforms where the information is coming from. So you have to be able to know how to log into your sites. Now, we always talk about in our training, I just did a training session an hour ago where we talked about keeping a spreadsheet of your passwords and how to log into those sites. It's a really good idea, but the problem with the older generation is the newer generation knows how to work their notes on their iPhone. They know how to work the notes on their iPad. They know how to work the notes on different things. So you've got to be able to, if you can't work your notes, here's another notary hack for you. Start a spreadsheet or a general piece of paper on what the website is, how to log into it, when you signed up for it, write down, you know, take a ruler and a pencil and write all of those things down. If you're not tech savvy to get into those things, you can still be in the game and accept orders by text message, but you've got to know how to log into the sites and who you're working with. So you want to keep your username, the website, username, and password that you signed up with on a standard place. Now, one of the things I love, one of our Phoenix notaries, who I don't think is on the call today, Bob, if you're on the call, please speak up, but uses a calendar, like a real calendar. You know, I know notaries who still use a real calendar, and in those calendar books, you can put notes. A lot of them have little binder rings. You know, make sure that you're putting how to get into these sites on things, on something you have access to while you're out in the field or while you're out grocery shopping. Keep it in your, you know, I know also a lot of primetime notaries are doing this part-time. To me, I love speaking to this group because this is not the six-figure group. You know, a lot of people who are doing a notary after a certain age are doing it just to make a passive income, or just doing it because they are retired and they, you know, want to make a, you know, it's do notary or become a Walmart greeter. They're going to do something that makes them happy and fulfills their time. And you want to make sure that while you're doing that, you still understand that you're working in an industry that expects you to be able to, you know, log in and get into the website that you're working with. That's the first thing that, you know, I would say computer literacy is a hurdle. The next thing that I would say that is a hurdle is the actual basic terms. So I thought a lot about this before we did this session, because we actually did a little planning meeting. And on Notary Stars, and I'll give all of this to Notary to Pro as well, they can make a special link, but on Notary Stars, after today, you will find a link that's notarystars.com/primetime, and that's a secret link. And I'm going to be adding computer literacy training videos for free for everyone that's over a certain age, and Notary Pro can do the same thing. I know Barbara can make a special link for you guys. Upload and download is a big term, and I get notaries of a certain age that tell me I'm trying to download the documents, and what they mean there's trying to upload the scan backs, and the counterpart of that, I'm trying to download the documents, and what they mean is they're trying to upload. You have to know those basic terms of how to navigate the internet. You know, one of the biggest things that I see also is, I don't know if I've ever signed up for this site. You know, I've never heard from you before. And, you know, it'll clearly show that they signed up 3 days ago. You've got to know who you signed up for and put it in your brain or put it in your catalog when you get an order. You can't just say yes to orders. You can't just throw documents around. It doesn't matter if you're of a certain age. It looks the same as a person who is younger that doesn't know what they're doing. You know, it's kind of funny on that spectrum. We start out young and brand new and people forgive us, and then we get older and we need experience and they're a little less forgiving. So I've actually gone out on the internet and scoured the internet for basic computer skills. You know, another problem I see is notaries not knowing how to download. Excuse me. One of the things that I see is, you know, we had a notary 2 years ago, and I love him to death. He's out of Las Vegas. He may be on this call, but he tried for 2 hours to find the documents that he downloaded. You have to know how to download documents from a place on the internet and obtain them on your computer. And one of those things that notaries, you know, of a certain age have a problem with is when they click the download button, it goes somewhere on their computer, but they have no idea how to find it. One of the sessions that we're going to put on there for free is how to, you know, download documents and find them on your computer, or at least set your computer to know where they're being downloaded to. Computer literacy is a big issue with an older generation of notaries, only because, and you know, I'm 40. I didn't grow up with a cell phone in my hand. I was lucky at my age. I have friends my age that don't want to touch a computer. You know, I'm still from the generation where you knew where your friends were, where all the bikes were parked. You know, like you went out on Friday night and you knew where everyone was because that's where their cars were parked. You didn't need a phone or Instagram or Facebook or all of those things to tell you where the hottest club was, because we had like this, my girlfriend and I talk about this sometimes. We say it's just a natural ability, but it wasn't a natural ability. We were just way more perceptive. That makes us really good at the job as a notary. The younger generation has that hurdle to come to. Their attention span is like this, you know, and that's why I developed the training course, because attention spans this long, they're not being perceptive of the world around them, because this little thing right here, which I don't know if you can see because I have my background screen on and it's black, but the cell phone tells them everything that they need to know. And, you know, there is a lot of place for notaries of a certain age that are doing this. You know, if you're doing one file a day, I'm sure you're spending all your time on that file. You know, you're just making a passive income. Then there's notaries who just want to get a mobile printer, a mobile scanner, and all of those things and do as many orders as they want to. There's a market for both and everyone in between. But computer literacy is probably one of the biggest hurdles that I see for the older generation of notaries. There are a lot of courses out there, and I'm going to post them on Notary Stars as well under the free link, where you guys can go to, where you can attend free sessions that I didn't create, but I've watched them. I've spent a couple of weeks researching going through finding courses, and then I will add training videos as well. But I want to make this something that Primetime Notaries can do. And I will, of course, add them into our members only as well, because I add anything of benefit there. But I want to make sure that you guys understand, you know, if you've never worked with computers, there's a lot of people in this industry. I get calls every day as a signing agency owner asking me, you know, how can I be a notary? And they're telling me that they're jumping trains or changing trains. And what I mean by that is that they're coming from one industry and going to the other. And then there's not every industry on the planet that trained you for 30 years while you were working at this one job to work with computers. A lot of us did manual labor. A lot, you know, I came from serving. The closest I ever came to needing a computer while serving was punching in someone's order on the Aloha system. And, you know, when I became a notary, I actually took courses. You know, I went to college, but when I was in college, I didn't know how to use a computer. I was part of that cusp of a generation, you know, that did you need a computer? You know, we actually laughed at people when I went to college that needed a computer. You know, I went to school with, and I probably shouldn't say this on the internet, this will get uploaded later, but I went to school with one of the grandchildren of Chick-fil-A, and I won't even tell you the names that we called him because he had a computer, because his family was rich. And, you know, now we're in a generation where everyone has a computer, can afford a computer, can get one. And it's kind of the other way around now. We're on the other side of that circle. And computer literacy for the older generation of notaries is the biggest hurdle that I see when it comes to the respect. In fact, it's the only big major hurdle that I see. I see people who come from being taxi drivers, bus drivers. You know, I actually went and met recently with a realty company. This was probably right before COVID. I mean, like 2 weeks before they said, hey, COVID's a thing. And she told me one of the biggest hurdles that they have for realtors is that everything is going automated and they can't get it, the realtors to actually catch up with that. And I that's when I really started thinking about it for the computer literacy aspect of it. On our members only section, we have some basic computer literacy videos, but not just at Notary Stars, not just at Notary to Pro. You can literally Google basic computer skills and you will find courses that are free. You will find courses that are done. Another popular site for not just notaries, but the entire, you know, anything you're doing is called Udemy, U-D-E-M-E-Y. Udemy has free courses for $9.99 where you can get, you know, all these training videos. If you're having problems with, you know, if you've not worked with computers or it's a hurdle for you, I highly recommend going out and finding the resources that you need for the jobs that you're going to be doing. Unfortunately, in this industry right now, you have to have some basic computer skills. You have to know how to upload and download. You need to know what a browser is. You need to know how to email. Another thing about emails that I see with older generations is they don't understand reply and reply all. You know, you can reply to an email or you can reply all and send it to everyone. This can be a blessing or a curse if you need to. These will also be included in some of the free training that we find on the internet that we're going to put just for the Primetime Notaries. But these are things that can make it or break it. Unfortunately, we live in an industry now where things are really busy. And, you know, Ms. Carroll said something earlier, you know, there's a lot of notaries with that are coming up. If you can master some of these basic computer skills, which I think 3 weeks of reviewing some videos maximum, you can blow these little, young notaries coming up at 23, 24 that are taking these 6-figure courses, which I don't endorse. You can blow them out of the water and still be the go-to notary because you know what you're doing. You know how to, do what they need you to do. Really, the only thing you need to be able to do is download the documents, take them to the signing, get them signed properly. That's where training comes in with Notary Pro, NOTARYSTARS, Miss Phyllis, Miss Hathoot. You need to be able to do the job and then get them back to the title agency properly, whether that be scan and ship or whatever. As long as you can master those few skills, you will still be in the game. No one's going to be overlooking you. No one's going to get, you're not going to be behind. And to me, that is such a small hurdle. I say it's a big hurdle, but 3 weeks maximum of watching a few training videos. If you can master the skill of doing a loan signing, you can definitely master the skills of a computer. The cool thing about a computer is it doesn't change. It doesn't change. The documents, they're always going to change. We're always going to need updated education. But the few basic skills that you need, and I will make sure that we post those and I get them over to Notary Pro as well. I'll even give them to Miss Phyllis to make sure that they're there. The few basic skills that you need to master are the only thing standing between you and a younger generation notary in my mind. And I work with the entire spectrum.
Ronnie, I'd like to add something if you don't mind. It's Carol.
Yes, please do, because I'll talk about a horse.
My son-in-law is a forensics IT guy, and he has taught me one of the most valuable things I have ever known, because passwords drive me bonkers. Keeping track, trying to remember what they are, where do you write them all, where do you keep them safe? I was given the password one that's on the line. He set it up for me. And then, of course, I forgot the password. So they're floating around out there somewhere. But he taught me something that's become invaluable, because we share passwords here. And so you kind of have to have one key. And what it is take one word, whatever it is, and use capitals and small letters. And instead of A's, you use the @ sign. Instead of I's, you use the exclamation point. And maybe one number thrown in there. And for everything that you do, like if you go Facebook, it's face, whatever. And so whatever it is, you'll know immediately what those passwords, what they are, and you don't have to hunt them down. It has been working for me like magic. So it's just a hint.
One of the things that I do, and I do a very similar process, but there are certain websites that only need 5 characters, certain websites that only need 6 characters, that only need, so many characters. Some of them need a special character. Create a certain amount, like 5 different passwords, ones that are shorter, ones that are longer, ones that are, even longer, and write those passwords down. And you'll know, and most websites won't give you more than 4 or 5 attempts before they lock you out. Keep those and make those your passwords as well. Whether you do, let's just say you sign up with Mortgage Connect, Amrock, and whatever, and you do it Miss Carol's way, your passwords will always end in a certain, it'll be Amrock with the first letter capital and 2029. Whatever you're doing, make sure you only have a certain amount of variation so that you'll be able to go into a website, any website, put in that password and get back into it. But that's a great idea.
And hey, guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Donna calling from Ohio, and I wanted to add to what you were saying. That's a very good idea, but oftentimes, every so often, you'll be prompted to change your password for security reasons, and you can still keep the same password. Just begin to add one letter after it. A. The next time they ask you to update, make it B. And that way they consider it a change, but you still have the root of the same password, and you don't have to worry about remembering it. Thanks.
Donna, that's a great idea.
Thank
That's what
you.
I started doing as well. Very good.
I don't know if you guys can hear me now, but I'm in Ohio and we have no power. So my phone's going in and out. I can't hear a thing you're saying now, Carol, but thanks for everything you do and I love you. Be blessed.
Thank you. All right, so that's what I have on computer literacy. Ms. Hathoot, I want to turn it over to you to keep going down our kind of sort of outline that we have going today.
Yeah, we definitely have a plan, but I just want you guys to remember that the plan includes you guys. So if you have a question, just pipe in, raise your hand, or put something in the chat window. We want you to participate with us today.
And I just want to piggyback on what Ronnie was saying right quick about the training that's out there. There is a lot of free training out there for computer literacy. And back in the day, because I used to teach computer application courses at the college that I was teaching at. And back in the day, we did a lot of training with a company called lynda.com. And I mean, lynda.com had training on everything. And what she did was she sold it to LinkedIn. And so now LinkedIn has a bunch of training. I think they call it, I want to say it has something to do with Skillshare, but please check that out because a lot of it is free too on there. And they just have a ton of computer training.
Perfect. Thank you, Phyllis.
Just if you don't mind, I'd just like to get an idea from everyone. This is a little bit of user participation, just to show how fast we need to work on this at NotarySTARS and to get it over to Moderator Pro. If you have computer literacy issues, don't be ashamed. You can send it as a private or a public message. But if you could just message now in the chat box, you know, I already see them coming. You know, I have issues, or raise your hand, or do whatever. I'd like to see, you know, everyone that's on the chat today, you know, if they have questions, or if you have specific questions on how to do things, type that in and let it come into the chat, because I have access to come back and review this. I'd love to see what your issues are, or if you have basic overall issues, let them come in so we can see how important this is of a topic for today. And if we need to extend it and bring it, you know, in micro topics as well.
Good deal. Great, great. I'm actually going to kick the football over to Miss Carol Ray right now and ask, what was that look, Carol? I just want to ask Carol to give us some of her Notary to Pro expertise and just give us a little conversation about the differences between acknowledgements and jurats, and how we handle signatures from clients.
Oh, that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Let's see. We only have how many minutes left? Okay, well, one of the things that everyone has to know is the basics. What is a notarial certificate? It's not just an acknowledgement. It's not just a jurat. The notarial certificate is that area on the document which is just for the notary to complete. Usually it's kind of a square at the bottom of the page, could be even on a second page, but it has the venue, and I teach my graduates this and they seem to remember it. It's always where your feet are planted or your seat is seated when you're doing the signing. So you could be commissioned in Brown County, but you're doing a signing in Orange County. So you're always going to put where your feet are planted doing the signing. That's number one. Number two, the notarial certificates belong to you. Nobody can make a change in those, not even title companies. So you need to make sure that those are correct and complete every time. When you know what the requirements are, what things have to be included in a notarial certificate. You need to know that what your state requires, but there are certain things that have to be in there. The venue, the date, the names of the people, or a very clear concept of who the signers are and who you're notarizing. Those things are very important. You can't let anybody make changes on it. If you've made a mistake, the title company isn't even supposed to make any kind of changes if you put the wrong date or something in. So that means that when you do date it, of course, you know not to backdate. I hope whoever you've trained from has said, don't backdate, okay? But notarial certificates, like I said, they belong to you. They don't belong to anybody else. If you make a mistake, it's your responsibility. And if you make a mistake, you're the one that has to correct it, unless you get it specifically in writing that the title company or escrow officer is asking you to make its change that's necessary in order for the file to fund and record. Then you can say, no, I have to make those changes, or you can give them written permission to be able to make those changes. That happens a lot on split signings. People get very confused about it. A split signing, you have Mr. Bill Smith and you have Mrs. Kathy Smith, okay? And you're signing up Bill, Kathy's in another state. You're the first notary, you get a certificate and it says Bill and Kathy Smith, or Bill Smith and Kathy Smith. Very, very important on a split signing that you line through the party who is not appearing before you. That's very important, because if you don't do that, it looks like you notarized both parties. So if you get a set of documents on a split signing and the other notary, the first notary, has left both names in there, you must call the title company and let them know, because this could take a drastic effect on the borrowers. It could hold up their funding and their loan. That notary has to line through that name on that certificate. What else did you want to know?
Tell us the difference between an acknowledgement and a jurat, the two basics that are in every state.
Well, the basics are on an acknowledgement that it will ask you, that it will state basically that you have identified this person. Sometimes on the certificates, it'll say by means of, and it would be, you might write driver's license in there, but it's basically stating that they've signed before you, that you have identified them properly, and that they are signing the document of their own free will. The jurats will generally say sworn and scribed before me. And I don't know how many people have taken Notary to Pro here, or if you've had other courses, but one of the things you've got to know is how to give an oath or affirmation at the beginning of the importance is that you could wind up in court in a lawsuit against a borrower who's being charged with fraud. Let's say, for instance, there's a no debts and liens document in the documents. Everybody calls me and asks me, what's this? What basically it is, it says, I am getting my loan and I've disclosed all of my debt to the lender, and I haven't gone out and bought purchased a new car. My credit is the same, my debts are the same. And if they get into a mess where they've taken the loan out, they've purchased a nice expensive car, and now here it is 6 months later, and they can't afford to make their house payment, and they're being foreclosed on, and they get called into court, that judge will call the notary in, and he will say, or she will say, did you issue an oath to these people? Did they swear that they were telling the truth under oath? And if you say, oh, I don't do that, you could become a part of that lawsuit, and it could cost you dearly. So providing an oath or affirmation, and I hear all the time, lawyers don't do it, county clerks don't do it, and notaries don't do it. And if you go out to do a signing and you do it, and the people will say, why are you doing that? I've never done that before. I've refinanced my house 5 times and I've never done that before. You tell them that it is your legal responsibility to protect yourself and to protect them. So does that help?
Thank you very much. And I want to make one quick comment here. In Arizona, up until, and I don't know the date, I'm going to say 5 years ago, we were allowed to administer an oath at the beginning of the signing, and then not have to specifically address every affidavit in the package. We cannot do that any longer. If
Oh,
there
is that
are,
right?
yeah, if there are 5 jurats in a loan signing, we have to go through the ceremony of having them raise their hand and affirm that the information on this document is true and correct before they can sign it. So we have to give a little mini, administer a little mini oath before they can actually sign each document. I used to do that all the time. I'd give them an oath at the beginning of the signing. Then when I came to a document that had a jurat on it, I would remind them that they're still under oath. Secretary of State says that's probably not the best idea. So
That's why we require our students to know the rules and regulations of their state. They've got to. We can't possibly keep up with the rules of every state. So.
And one other little tidbit for everybody else too, just because in the title of the document, it says blah, blah, blah affidavit, doesn't mean it's going to have a jurat attached to it. Okay. An affidavit is just a statement. The jurat determines whether you administer an oath or not.
I just like to piggyback on that too. And this is what I tell my students, I'm a big proponent of, documenting everything in your notary journal. So whenever you administer an oath, I always tell them, go ahead and put that in your notary journal too, that you did administer that oath.
Yeah.
Just with an O or the word oath will do it.
Yeah.
Consistency if you have to go to court.
Yeah, it is, just in case you ever get challenged, the first thing they're going to want to see is your notary journal.
So does anybody have any questions on acknowledgements and jurats or any of the discussion that Carol just had?
No, but I do want to make sure to let everyone know, Miss Carol has in her library excellent videos for this. So if you're a Notary Pro graduate, make sure to do those. And she was kind enough to loan them to the NOTARYSTARS library as well. So those videos from Miss Carol, which were, I don't know how many people have watched them, but it's thousands. They are there. So if you need a recap on those, if you're a Notary Pro or a Notary Star, you can come back to the library and watch those as well.
So I like to add a couple words for this basic things, acknowledgement and jurat, because this is the basic duty of a notary to complete these 2 certificates, especially for the signing agent. We do it all the time. Normally, in a signing appointment, there are so many acknowledgements and jurats are always there. So whenever I go for a signing, I tell them these are the acknowledgements and these are the jurats under oath. And once they sign, and I tell them, you have to put your initials where I have put oath administered. They say, what is that? I said, these notarizations are under oath. They look at me and ask me, we have done so many signings before. Nobody has given us any oath. I tell them, oh, really? I'm sorry for that. But this is the first thing that you have to take the oath to do all these signings. But I had no answer to say sorry for them, those who never give them any oath. So I have specially put a stamp, oath administered, And then I ask them to put their initials under the oath administered, and then do the rest of the journal entries. And then they look at me. I said, let's take the oath first and then do the rest of the things. And they both look at husband and wife, or both the signers look at me. And then I raise my hand and request them to raise their both hands. And they just take it as a out of the way that. And secondly, when I tell them this is the first thing that we have to perform as per the rules, then they say, oh, how many entries you have done? We never did so many entries. We haven't seen that many entries. People do 1 or 2 entries and you have done 20 entries. I said, it's different as per the escrow or the title or the lender requirements. So as many notarizations they require, we have to do every entry as per their requirement. So these are the new things that I always hear from my signing appointments.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately, Paul, a lot of notaries don't follow that level of expertise that you've just described. And they really probably should. Every time I put somebody under oath, they say, I've never done that before.
That's true. I agree. And I have, for your surprise, I cannot show you because I don't have the video camera. You'll be surprised to see I have created 2 stamps, one for the acknowledgement, one for the jurat. Jurat is in red stamp and acknowledgement is in black stamp, so that they can make out the difference that the red stamp is under oath. I can tell them this is under oath and this is not under oath. And then they ask me the difference. I tell them the difference. And secondly, to minimize the mistakes that we generally commit in completing the acknowledgement and the jurat forms, because mostly in signing appointments, we get incomplete acknowledgement certificates and incomplete jurat certificates. No escrow company or the lender sends us the complete. I'm in California. I never get the completed acknowledgement certificates or the jurat certificates. So I
Yeah,
have to make sure all the acknowledgement certificates are complete. They have the boxed certificate and the rest of the wordings are correct. And the spaces in between are enough for me to fulfill all the required information.
yeah,
So,
Paul, exactly. So if that certificate doesn't meet your state requirements, then you can correct it without creating a total mess. You can do that. Otherwise, you're going to want to submit or attach a loose certificate.
so I have.
Can I ask a question?
Please go ahead.
Okay, so this is Christopher Schaefer. I have seen a lot, and I mean a lot of documents that have up at the top said something like, we, the signers, having first been sworn and deposed, do declare that. And then it goes on with whatever the document is. But then the notarial certificate at the bottom is an acknowledgement.
Yeah.
So I still administer the oath at the beginning, so they are under oath, but should I do anything with that to notate that? I mean, is that like really a jurat, or should I do anything with that?
That's a great question. You want to answer or should I answer?
I think we ought to let Ronnie answer.
So
He's been trying to pipe in here for the last couple of seconds. Go ahead, Ronnie.
first of all, this is the first time that I've ever heard. I want you to answer this question because I respect your expertise beyond mine, and I want to learn something here. But
all right, every time every escrow or any other company has given different wordings. Our main wording for the jurat.
Hello? Did we lose him?
I think he went back to mute on accident.
Can you
I
hear
can't
me?
hear him.
There you go.
Can you hear me, please?
Yeah,
Yes, now we can,
Yeah,
Paul.
yeah. Let's point out to the two main wordings in acknowledgement. There is acknowledged. In jurat, there is subscribed and sworn.
mhm.
So we do not know the meaning of subscribed and sworn means. Subscribed means that signatures. We don't take it as a subscription or other means. When subscribed and sworn comes together, then it means it's a jurat. If it comes as subscribed and acknowledged, it means acknowledged, not a jurat. So we have to go through the wording and make sure that it's not a sworn. It's only subscribed and acknowledged. So we have to make sure that they're looking for the acknowledgement or they're looking for the sworn statement. So then we have to make the difference between the acknowledgement and the jurat. Is it right that you wanted to know?
Sometimes there's both on one page too. We have to keep that in mind.
I
get
understand.
questions
So
like that
if
all the time.
acknowledgement comes first, then we'll give the acknowledgement. If the sworn comes afterwards or the sworn comes first, we can give the jurat first. So it depends whether they are looking for the acknowledgement first or the sworn statement comes first. So we'll fulfill their requirements, whatever comes first.
Okay,
Carol,
so bottom line, Paul, here, regardless of what it says in the document, whatever the notarial certificate is attached or included in that document, that's what we are going to perform our notarial duty with. Even if it says at the top, I do by here declare, swear, or whatever, our duty is to only complete an acknowledgement if it's an acknowledgement already present, or give an oath and complete a jurat if a jurat is present. We've got another question from, is it Miranda? Miranda, if you want to, I see you've got your hand up. If you want to go ahead and unmute and then ask your question. We're right about 20 minutes past our stop time, so we'll have to kind of wrap it up kind of quick. Go
Yes,
ahead.
ma'am. It's a quick question. I just wanted to put this at rest. When it comes to using stamps for your name, the dates, the sworn as, using stamps, instead of using your penmanship. I'm in Florida. What is the correct? What is correct when it comes to that?
You're going to have to double check with your state requirements. Your governing department is Secretary of State in Florida, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that would be a question you would need to direct to your Secretary of State. So there's two issues there, whether you can use stamps in your journal and whether you can use stamps on the documents. Typically, in my experience, and Carol, you can pipe up, or Phyllis or Ronnie, typically in my experience, the recorded documents, most of them don't care whether you use stamps or if you handwrite it in. As long as your signature and your notarial seal is wet ink, then they're fine either way.
I agree. You can never, ever stamp your name. So you have to do that. You can use jurats, you can use acknowledgement stamps. I know that in California, a lot of people do that because of the requirements there. But you can do that as long as they're clear, recordable, but you can never stamp your name. You always must sign your name.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. There's so much misinformation, floating around. So, thank you.
If you don't mind, before it gets too long, before I forget this, I wanna bring it up. There was something brought up by Paul about the he has an initial when an oath is administered. I love this, and I want to use this example for earlier this year. We had a notary in Arizona who the biggest complaint from the signing was that he administered an oath. And he actually told me, he said, I don't like doing this, but here is our state manual. I am to give you an oath for the jurats. And he did. And the signer's only complaint was that he administered an oath because they'd never seen that before. And the title agency had never administered an oath before either. And I sent them back our notary journal, our notary handbook from the state of Arizona. And they were like, oh my God. And now they're a fairly new client for us. They've been with us about a year now or getting close to it. And they were like, oh my God, we didn't even know that when you do a jurat, because we just bring them in the office and sign them and tell them what to do. I said, no, when you're an escrow officer and you're acting as a notary, you should be giving an oath as well. You know, it's funny how it works for the lenders and the title agency, but then when it comes down to us, it's the other part. But I love that extra little thing. I will probably find a way to slide that into my signings as well. Not that I do that many anymore, but I love that there is some sort of thing saying, hey, I gave an oath to this person with that. Even if it, you know, maybe you put it in your journal, because you can notate that in your journal that it's a jurat, but a lot of journals don't have a little initial mark saying, yes, an oath was administered. So I love that extra little step. And that he has a stamp that goes along with that oath administered. There's nothing that would get kicked back from a lender there. And that's really covering, I love this term, and it's not exactly polite, but you know, I call it COA. If anybody knows what that means, it means cover your rear end. That's a big COA right there at the moment. So I appreciate Paul for bringing that up today.
We used to call it CYA.
CYA, COA.
Ronnie, just 2 words only. I like to send you copy of my jurat certificate and a acknowledge certificate to show others that we have tried to cover most of the errors that everybody commits by personalizing it to every notary public as per their particulars, so that their mistakes are minimal, and a copy of the journal also that I talked to, so that if they like, they can adopt it. You can show it to them in your next video. That will be a great help for everyone. If they want, I can tell them how they can access or they can use that as for their own records. And that will be a great help for one and all. And that will help them in many, many ways, saving their time and not making any mistake.
I'm going to interrupt really quick if I may, because Miranda just posted something and I think everybody should know about it. One of our graduates, I'm very proud of him, has created a tremendous new notary journal, and he's actually included it. I didn't realize that he had, but he's actually included that in the journal. So everybody be looking for that. That we're going to post it on Notary to Pro for sure in our, in our library or merchant section, one or the other. But Ronnie, it's something you might want to do too, because it's a terrific journal.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
So we're just about to wrap up here, guys. We're about half an hour past our stop time. I want to thank everybody for being here. We've been given 86,400 seconds today to say thank you. So here you go, guys. Thank you very much. We're grateful for your participation. Bye-bye. We'll see you next month.
And thank you, Ronnie, so much for heading this up, and Beth and Phyllis too. I love you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.